Rachel, and I'm here with Dr. Laura McGuire, who will be coming to Reno, Tahoe to teach her full Spectrum Doula Workshop. And I just wanted to let her speak and talk about what this means and what it is. Go for it.
Awesome. So thank you so much for introducing me and for getting this out to the Reno community. So a full spectrum doula is really looking at reproductive health care and advocacy holistically, right? So a lot of people think of doulas as only working in live birth communities and spaces, and that is certainly part of it. And being full spectrum, that is inclusive in what we cover. But it also covers just kind of the full gamut of reproductive experience, from being a doula for abortion care, to supporting clients who are going through miscarriage or stillbirth, to, again, having a live birth experience. And the other really important piece of this training is that we kind of turn birth concepts from a cis and heteronormative perspective on its head. And we really look at queering birth and making it inclusive for clients of all genders and sexualities, as well as other marginalized sexual communities, such as clients who have disabilities, clients who are survivors, right? Because a lot of times when we're talking about any part of reproductive health care, those communities are left out. So instead, with this training, we centralize them.
So this is a little bit more progressive doula training for the 21st century?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think that it's still one of very few that, again, covers everything. Really one of the only ones that does, right? So people might go and take 5 different trainings to try to get all of these competencies. And so this is really unique in that it's all in one, and also that there is a real commitment to making sure that people who, maybe cannot afford to go through some of these more expensive, really intensive, work-wise and time-wise trainings have access to a certification that, again, takes nothing away from what they're learning, but is more accessible financially. So when they take the certification course, they're fully certified in all areas of reproductive doula care. And there's no CEU fees later on. There's no fee to recertify, which all of the large doula training certifying bodies require. So we really want people to feel like, okay, I want to bring this information back to my community. And so we're taking down some of the barriers to do that.
When they're done with the class, they'll be certified?
Yes, fully certified through the National Center for Equity and Agency.
Wow, that's amazing. Is there any prerequisites or books they should read to prepare themselves for this workshop?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think that it really, again, trying to take down barriers. We don't have set prereqs other than that people are passionate about coming into this space and bringing their social justice lens to it. And people will come from all different kinds of backgrounds wanting to do this work, right? So there aren't barriers as far as, a certain number of births they've had to attend, which a lot require, or, again, reading or things that they've been exposed to. It's really that they'll get all the foundational knowledge that they need to during the training, and then included in the price, additionally, is that they get 5 hours of one-on-one coaching for their first year. Right. So if they go out and they're like, okay, I'm facing things that I wasn't prepared for, or there's a particular issue that I want support on, whether it's the business side or it's working with a particular client situation, they get that ongoing support for their first year.
Wow. And that's with you?
Yes.
What qualifies you to teach this workshop?
That's a great question. And I think that's a really important question when people are trying to decide on what kind of training that they want to get, right? Is that there's a lot of people out there who just will put on something, but they don't have a super strong foundation in what they're really speaking to. So I have been a doula for over 8 years. And I also have my doctorate in sexuality education. And so I primarily work with marginalized sexual minority communities and bringing inclusion and competencies to those areas. And I work with everybody from medical providers to colleges and government agencies on improving both inclusion as well as sexual violence prevention. So I kind of blend my academic foundation with the training and the work that I've done as a doula, and then kind of combining them together so that, you know, I'm speaking from a number of different places. And I think people will see that in the training, right? There's a lot of just real life, real grassroots information. And then there's also all the research that backs it up, because I think that's really important, that everything we're saying is research informed and culturally inclusive.
So if somebody wanted more information and you're saying there's no prerequisites, there's nothing you need to read, but what if we're hungry for info and we want to come informed, what would you recommend?
So some of my favorite books are When Survivors Give Birth, Birth from Within, Ina May Gaskin's whole spectrum of writing. And then as far as being a support person for abortion, I think that there's a lot of online communities, and maybe at the end of this video, we can link to some of those that have created these like network of resources. But sadly, as far as books go, there isn't one that really covers, again, a full spectrum perspective that I highly recommend. So I think that, through the training, they'll get a lot of those resources to continue their learning.
What is the stereotypical student for your workshop?
Well, I think that there's kind of like the societal stereotype, which is that it's going to be someone who maybe is really involved in feminist politics and already is super involved in community activism, and maybe like just extremely liberal and kind of on the very vocal side of those conversations, right? And I think that that's absolutely true. There are people who come who are totally identifying with a lot of those different spaces and categories, but that this is real. I want people to think broader than that, right? That there are people who are coming from communities where maybe they want to do this work in their church, or maybe, you know, they want to really focus on miscarriage support, and abortion and live birth is not going to be for them, or they really just want to focus on reproductive justice. Maybe they don't want to be a doula as in one-on-one support for most of the time, but they want to have a more solid knowledge foundation to be speaking from, right? So it's open to everyone, and I think it's extremely important to me that we create spaces that are brave and that people can have tough conversations and people can agree to disagree, and that this is a training that's really accessible for all of those people to come and learn and feel included.
Do you ever have men take your workshop?
I have not had that yet. We've had non-binary people take it. But I think absolutely there is a space for men and trans men and, you know, everybody to come in. And even, again, maybe they're not going to be working a lot one-on-one with folks because maybe their identity doesn't fit within that space, but they can become better allies by taking the course. And again, be speaking in their community and educating and advocating.
What is your vision for offering this workshop all over the country this year?
Yeah, so I think my vision is very much rooted in accessibility and getting more people from communities that are underserved to feel like they have a real voice to have these conversations and create these changes within their communities, right? Because so often we see people who are coming from privileged positions who try to go into oppressed and marginalized communities and save them, right? And that's the opposite of what we're trying to do with this, right? We want people to be able to access that and go back to their community where they are coming from, where they have those deep roots, where they really understand how to facilitate these conversations so it is inclusive and accessible to the people that they're living with and working with on a daily basis.
So what I'm hearing is you're really trying to break down some barriers because you're offering the certification for $400, and that is pretty reasonable. And there's no CEUs or continuing education units, and people don't have to do hours and hours of internships. They can just take this knowledge and go right back to their community and start helping people. And that's amazing. I don't really know too many other people that are offering that.
Yeah, I can honestly say I think this is truly the first of its kind in that, again, it's covering all of those bases, right? There are definitely people doing amazing work, but it's usually in one or two of these spaces, not all of them. And yeah, I mean, price, you have to be realistic. I mean, on one hand, of course, you have to make money to support the trainers and the space that we're providing, but we want to make sure that it's as reasonable as possible. And again, that people don't feel like, okay, every year to say I'm certified, I have to pay hundreds of more dollars to really gain what. I don't see that as an equitable practice, and I don't see that as, something that's positive for the people that they're serving. So I think that that's where I always am coming from is, what is the real intention for anything that we're setting up, for any of the processes or barriers that are in place. And if we can dismantle them and make it better, then we should just do that.
Can you tell me a little bit about your practice?
Yeah, so like I said, I've been a doula for over 8 years, but long before that, I was interested in midwifery and I was interested in reproductive health care and sexuality. And then going to school and grad school and becoming a sexologist and really studying these things from an academic perspective really helped me blend what I was seeing on the ground working with, at that time I was working a lot with teens who were dealing with systemic trauma and a lot of sexual violence. And so kind of blending their experiences with what research was telling us. And so a lot of the work that I've done as a doula in the full spectrum of that is working with people who, for whatever reason, feel like they don't have allowed enough voice to really advocate for the kind of healthcare that they need. This means everything from, supporting teens to have gone through abortion or seeking that, to supporting sex workers and making sure that they get competent health care. It's such a wide range of services, but I think for me, it's really been a process of, yes, coming in with that foundational knowledge, but that this is also, being a doula is a position of always learning and always being humble enough to learn from your clients as well, right? Because every single one of their stories is going to be unique and their needs are unique. There's no one size fits all for any of these needs or communities. And so in my own practice, it's been just this amazing journey of always learning, always growing, always evolving. And again, that's something that I really hope to be bringing to this training so that other people can start that journey for themselves.
Anything else that you would like to say that you feel like needs to be heard about this workshop?
Yeah, so I think that definitely, again, people should feel safe and invited, no matter their identity, their background. If you're coming with good intentions and you want to also be transforming the world in whatever micro or macro way you can, then this is the space for you. I would tell people definitely sign up. And also, if you're in a community where you think this would be something that would be well received, then reach out and have us come out to you, right? This is something that we're always looking to do, is to find the spaces, the places where they're hungry for this and bring the workshop and the training to them. And I hope to see many, many people in Reno this time and then hopefully again in the future.
That's fantastic. You're doing great work. We're so blessed to be able to host you. Thank you, Dr. Laura McGuire.
Thank you so much. Take care.